weird start.
Hey, yo, and welcome to the AWO Journeymen Podcast, where I finally get a little bit of revenge on Nathan. I am JD, the Carlton fan, who had a very, very enjoyable Friday night. Back this week is Nate, the Collingwood fan who, I mean, he probably expected this. He was waiting for this. He called this. So, how you doing, Nate?
Hey, ask me this question. How was my Friday night?
How was your Friday night?
Oh, fucking shithouse.
And back this week. Actually, I should say back this week, but the Freo fan, Maso, how you doing?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure if I'm still waking up or if this round actually happened.
I think you and I aren't sure if dreams happened over this weekend, but boys, let's talk some footy. You are taking over.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team on
30.
with all the champions. They like
17 points has never looked so good.
We'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous
What a banger.
old dark blues.
No.
One more tonight.
Fuck the tuba.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. That's my reaction. But Carlton, too good. 17-point winners at the MCG. The Blues are back.
First time in the top 8, I think, in 8 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
They're going to say 8 years.
8 years.
It
No,
feels like that.
it does. I mean, it's a long time between drinks and a long time to celebrate, but locked into 7th position.
Just from what I saw, or reluctantly, Charlie Curnow kicking 6 goals. It really is a matter of just teams executing their own game plan and taking their fucking chances against Collingwood. That's all you need to do. I saw a stat that Collingwood have benefited the most from opposition's inaccuracies. So all you need to do is kick straight. It's not a matter of take over the corridor or anything special. Just play your own game. Take your chances. Don't fuck up. Don't turn it over as much. And you will beat Collingwood. Even though you may be 3 goals up and shit your pants, you can still beat Collingwood. And that's exactly what Carlton did. I haven't really taken notice of any Carlton midfielders or anything like that. It was just, if I say Charlie Curnow, I feel like I'm going to give away a free kick, but that's just my little bias. But Charlie Curnow, I thought he kicked away with the Coleman medal race, but given what happened Saturday night, it's not the case. But Collingwood still sit pretty, 2 games clear on top, and Carlton, they're back in the 8. Can they stay in the 8 to come finals?
Tough month.
Yeah, it's a tough month. I'm not so positive on Carlton. I said last year that Carlton would miss finals, and they did. I'm a bit iffy on Carlton at this point. Maso, what did you think of this game? The neutral? Because I think we're both a bit stunned from Friday night.
Pretty much.
How did I see it? It seemed like Carlton were playing their absolute best, and Collingwood brought the 25%. It didn't look. They looked off.
They looked tired.
Yeah, they looked off. They looked tired. But then you can't take the credit away from the Blues. This is what I kept saying the whole time. I was like, this looks like a dead on its legs Pies team, but Carlton are doing amazing.
What?
So, yeah, it was weird because I want to give them Carlton props because they did it, but at the same time, I'm like, nah, that Collingwood team looked off.
I don't think Collingwood was off. I don't think Collingwood was off too much. I think it's more on Carlton
because the way that they were off is that I reckon about 90% of those shots that they missed, they would have gotten.
Oh, absolutely. This was
accuracy kills them.
Yes.
Yeah, there was the most inaccurate I've seen him in ages.
I mean, the Jeremy Howe going into the forward line was a master stroke.
I think that's just more. That's just junk time, I reckon. I don't think it's going to be something that happens long term. I think that was just done because Collingwood were we're screwed in the game. It may work next week against Hawthorn, something to experiment with, but it's dependent on if someone like Cox is dropped and who comes in for him, who knows. But I think
he looked pissed.
He did,
Mason
absolutely.
Cox.
I think he realizes that even though he's signed on for 2 years, it's going to be a long 2 years if he can't perform like he typically does, because he's not influencing games anymore. And yeah, as Maso said, it was just inaccuracy for Collingwood. Elliott kicking 3 behinds. Mychek, I think, kicked 1 goal too, or I don't think he kicked a goal. Bo McCreary kicked 1 goal too. He missed that sitter in the first quarter, which really set the tone.
Oh, geez, that was crazy.
But then you have Curnow again, 6 goals. Jack Martin, 3 goals. Motlop kicking goals. Always kicking goals. Again, it's a game of 2 forwards. And Carlton's midfielders wanting it more. Certain times in that final quarter, Cripps, Newman, I think it was. Newman as well, wanting it more over guys like Dacos, Pendlebury, DeGoey, Crisp. Yeah, Carlton deserved this win, 100%.
I think Maso just brought up a name that was, it really did look like Collingwood had a chair problem for a very long time through that game. Then, yeah, he's another one that's down with injury. So Walshy and Chera now both out with probably short term. So, 2 to 3 week injuries. I thought you'd enjoy that one.
Yeah, no, you had me in the first half.
It's going to be Paddy Wow's time to shine. Because he came in and it's amazing how he just slotted straight into Chera's role. I know he's got that in him, but yeah, he was brilliant. 12 disposals pretty much from instantly coming on and having an effect. We'll hype the Dow up.
What a boy.
What an absolute boy.
Is it time to take the bins out?
I've been waiting for the bins to be taken out for months now. I thought when we were in our shit patch, we were gonna take the bins out, but that kid, if nobody knows who we're talking about Jackson Binns, sitting in the VFL for Carlton, has had an absolutely phenomenal first season. So yeah, wait till we unleash that kid as well, because he is a diamond pretty much a diamond sitting in the 2s at the moment. So yeah, I can't wait to see when he's unleashed. I'm just gonna take over a little bit and just have a little bit of glory at the moment right now. Charles Curnow with his 6 goals, Nick Newman with his absolute monster performance off the half-back line, Cripper through the midfield, Weeders down back, Doherty is the inspiration. Not much more you could ask for from the team. It was a full team effort. They took it to Collingwood for 4 quarters, and this is something that's become a trait for Carlton for the last 6 weeks, has just been taking it to teams for full 4-quarter efforts, and now we roll into Sunday against St Kilda.
I just want to thank one person for Carlton's turnaround. Herbertron. Did you see his video on Carlton when they got smashed against Essendon?
And since then,
yeah, it's been since then.
Literally turned it around. So thanks, Herbie. You can't do it with your own team, but we'll take it.
How are the turntables?
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? But yeah, it was just a full team performance. There was a few Collingwood players who were probably a bit down, but when Collingwood's got literally every player on their list to pick from, you got to hold your head high when you're beating that sort of quality. And it does. And it was said perfectly that Carlton just has to play what's in front of them. And that's what they did, played what's in front of them, got another win. Now we roll on to the Saints and try to keep this finals hope alive.
Positive news still. Let's go into Saturday games. Freo, how the fuck did they beat Geelong? 7-point winners at GUMBA Stadium. Stage 4.94 development at this stage. In spite of a slow start from Freo yet again. Only 2 first quarters won so far in 2023. I had a look as well. Last 38 games, just 7 first quarters won, 29 lost and 2 drawn. So yeah, starts have been a real problem for Freo. But great comeback from Freo. A few injury concerns for Geelong. Blitzarv's down with a hamstring. I think Hawkins as well was either a calf or a hamstring as well. Not as serious. It was
an old man injury.
Old man, baby cow disease. All right. And what else? Hawkins as well. I think it was a calf, but it's also lack of sunlight being in Alex Pearce's back pocket all game. Major props to Freo. They deserve this win. Brayshaw and Sarong yet again contributing in the midfield. And also Alex Pearce as well. I I gave him shit as a defender, as a leader so far this year. It was definitely his best game. I'm not a fan of co-captains, though, but I still think it's Brayshaw and Sarong, the real captains of Freo at this stage. But Freo, they typically win games, not just in the middle, but through clearances. They win clearances, they win games, and that's exactly what they did here against Geelong. Back-to-back wins as well at GUMBA Stadium. And it's also capped off with Frederick's goal of the year contender, Gary Ablett-esque. It missed the backflip, but a goal's a goal. I think it was the match winner as well from Freo or from Frederick. But this set the tone for what was going to be a shit round of tipping. But Maso, take over. Is Freo still in it?
Yeah, did not expect us to show up. No big cheeky boy. Jackson really stepped up. Looked like we were trying something new there, is what I noticed. We didn't win the hit-out battle at all, but we won the clearance battle. Lots more ground ball gets, which has been our weakness. So when we can win the contested possession, when we can win the ground ball gets, we seem to come up on top. Amos, once again, amazing. He looks like a wet noodle, but he just uses his body and his strength, and he just plays like a bloody veteran. It's amazing to watch this kid week in, week out. The future. Once again, defense best game for the year. Lukey Ryan not getting the props he deserved in this game. Absolutely amazing. Young going through the midfield looked very good as well. Schultz just freaking bleeds purple. It's just the usual contributors, but this was a team effort. All the role players stepped up, everybody played, and it's just the most infuriating thing seeing us play like this, and it just doesn't happen consistently. And I'm a broken record when it comes to that, but how do you beat fucking GUMBA and then beat them at GUMBA Stadium and lose to North Melbourne at home, lose to Sydney at home? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
How the fuck did Wagner have such a good game?
That's it. Everybody had good games.
I was stunned seeing him realistically in the best. I was like, whoa. There was some interesting performances that were sort of from left field. Like Corbett was a real left field contributor as well. So just sort of been in and out of the side. Yeah. There was just players all over that were even Stanley when he came on, had a little bit of an influence.
That kid's going to be great.
You want to talk about someone who looks like a wet noodle?
I found a key stat for Geelong, maybe a bit foreshadowing. So Geelong's lost their second game at GUMBA this year. I've had a look through the history books for Geelong. 3 is the magic number. So if they lose 3 games at GUMBA, they miss finals. The last time was, I think it was 1978. They lost 3 games, but made finals. So they got Port next week. And they've also been winless in the last 6 games against interstate sides. So it's a crucial game next week for Geelong at GUMBA. They've got 2 more games at GUMBA. Patrick Dangerfield 2 weeks ago talked about how Geelong are probably one of the best sides in the comp, or they can win it from 5th spot or outside top 4. Now they're going to try and make finals at this point. Yeah, so it's come back to bottom on the arse. And for Freo, well, they're going to have to win the last 4 games comfortably and have results go their way for any chance to make finals. They're trying to salvage what's left of 2023. They can do it. They can be a bit of a banana skin or banana peel to other sides, but yeah. Speaking of choking, the Western Bulldogs going down by 5 points to the Giants in Ballarat Mars Stadium. Tobias Green, 5 goals. Oh, captain, my captain. Club record for the Giants, 7 wins in a row. My question to you boys is, how the fuck has this happened?
Mate, they've won at 9 venues this year. What the fuck?
The freaking fly points.
Who would have thought that they could go and travel everywhere around the country and get wins?
Not this guy.
I certainly didn't. I've been hyping this team up for fucking months. And now it's paying off dividends. Thank you, Orange team. Wasn't this how has this happened? Their senior leaders have stood up. Their kids are coming through. Sam Taylor's having another ripper year. I think I said it last week or the week before, when Caniglio's back to that best somehow, this is exactly what we thought was going to happen off of the back of some of those senior players getting back to their best. Their best once again today, bar Kieran Briggs, Whitfield, Caniglio, Kelly. Or sorry, yesterday, but yeah. Whitfield, Caniglio, Kelly. So, it's just their usual suspects. And Green. It's the senior heads getting themselves into form, and now they're starting to steamroll sides. And especially the Bulldogs side that I just have a lot. I have a lot to say, but I feel like if you do at the moment, you're copying Kane Corns, because he's really hatched his fucking latched onto that fucking train and started burying the Bulldogs week after week. But I tend to agree with him. At the end of the day, this is a wasted list.
It's been a wasted season post-bye. And I've found a stat that Kane Corns has not mentioned. I hope he does mention it. So post-bye, I have calculated the total game time the Dogs have played across their 5 games. They've been in front at least 72% of the time for only 2 wins. They've only got 2 wins out of 5 games post-bye from 72% of combined game time in front. They were in front for, I think, not 98 minutes against the Giants, about 80 minutes against the Swans, 55 minutes against the Pies, and they lost those games. Oh. So they've wasted a top 4 spot. They're slowly wasting a top 8 spot. And the main point is this list the Dogs have, they got the best leaders, the best players in Bont, Libba, English in the ruck, Ugelhagen, Norton up forward. And they're wasting their 5 best players out of it. Because it's, again, their bottom 5 players, bottom 6 players that just can't step up. And also to compact the Dogs as well as their defense. Alex Keith going or being subbed off with head. Correct protocols, by the way. We'll get into that later. But Josh Bruce, second ACL, very innocuous.
In the good knee.
That's what happens with ACLs. You've got a more likely chance to injure your good knee after doing your bad knee. So that's unfortunate for Josh Bruce. He's out of contract as well, season's end. So you don't expect him to stay on.
How harsh is that to delist a player with an ACL? Like, I know you don't just hand out contracts to appease someone because they've got an injury, but it's the harshest reality he's going to have to face.
Unfortunate timing for him, for the Dogs as well. Liam Jones is expected to come back pretty soon, so very needed backline depth, or not depth, but a key figure down back for the Dogs. But the Giants, they're realistically 2 wins away from playing finals.
The Giants, I fucking love the Giants this year. I tell you what though, they've earned my respect this year, but they've turned a lot of their lower end players into absolute stars. When Toby Bedford's having the game of his life every week, it doesn't hurt. It's polar opposites this game. The bottom 5 of the Dogs has been really letting them down, whereas the bottom 5 of the Giants has gone to another level and is realistically lifting this team.
Q Clash, Saturday twilights, a time zone or time slot where anything can happen. And anything can happen as the Suns got up by 41 points, snapping a 9-game losing streak against the Lions. For the Suns, the message was simple. If you want to win the Q Clash, you got to grab it by the balls. And he
fucking said it. Damn it! I was trying to get that in there somehow.
Grab it by the balls.
Now, before we get into the game, I thought we had the showdown as well. I thought let's get into some memories of the Q Clash, and there's quite a few. And by quite a few, there is not many. There's 3 I can think of. One was the very first Q Clash, the Suns getting the win. The second one was the Stephen May bump on Stephen Martin, where I was playing Supercoach at the time, and so many people wanted Gary Ablett suspended because he pushed Martin into May, even though Ablett had no fucking influence on that at all.
Brutal, that fucking bump.
It was acceptable in the 80s.
That's play on in the 80s.
And I think just more recently is Dane Zorko v. Took Miller. What the fuck is that sort of... Where's that rivalry come from?
I don't understand it.
Rat.
If we have anyone in Queensland listening, can someone please fill us in? What's going on between those two? But Took Miller, best on ground. Supposedly, he asked for the one-on-one matchup with Lockie Neal.
Yeah.
Nullified Neal. Miller played his typical best and then inspired his entire side. Ben King kicking goals yet again. Raul Anderson stepping up as well. Stephen King's first win as a coach or caretaker coach keeps the Suns season alive. In one word, vortex, but this was a very deserved win for the Suns, and Brisbane Lions, their top two hopes, does take a bit of a hit, even though some results go their way. But what can you say about this game?
Well, my thing was going to be that realistically, the Lions had a real chance to bolster their top two hopes here, and blew it in my books. But Suns, with the ever so slightest glimmer of hope,
The Lions, basically, we're talking about blueprints to stop teams. The Lions, you stop their clearances, you stop Lions, you stop Lockie Neal, you stop the Lions. And I think no Will Ashcroft as well does test Brisbane's midfield depth already, which is surprisingly good.
I really didn't think it was going to. I didn't think a first-year player was going to really impact the side.
Shows how good he is.
It just
he's
exactly.
amazing.
It just shows how good he is. One question I have for you two, just to continue the ball rolling on the Suns and Lions talk, is: has Noah Anderson gone past Matty Rao? For mine, he has. I just think this kid's all class, and I think Rao is actually easier to stop than a lot of people think. Yeah, for mine yesterday, it was. It's funny. We've been sort of this theme of this podcast. I feel has been bottom five players. You want to talk about some of the bottom five players of the Suns yesterday? They played the games of their life. Some of their players went to other levels. Players like, Sam Flanders.
He's been playing out of his skin for a month, though.
He has been. They've had a few playing out of their skin. Mac Andrew from mine, he was playing phenomenally yesterday. All the intercepts.
Mac Daddy Andrew slamming Jack Berry to the fucking ground.
It was just for mine. This was a fun watch. I think the Lions turned up, didn't give a shit, and the Suns realised they've got to win their next 5 to play any form of finals. And it was said best yesterday. It's a mountain to climb, but at the end of the day, when you're still a chance to play finals, you're still a chance to play finals. So, Suns with the glimmer of hope that they've got left.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch much of this. I was watching the back of my eyelids.
Unlike you in the middle of the day.
You were talking about the Suns keeping their season alive. Same can't be said for the Bombers, but the same could be said for the Swans as well. Swans winning by 2 points Saturday night, Marvel Stadium.
Don't these two love a close game?
They do. I mean, we're talking about Q Clash memories. We could talk about these two having close battles. We can go back to 1996 prelim to talk about these two sides. Dane Rampy climbing a post after the siren shots, misses, close wins, elimination finals. The list goes on and on. For two sides who they're not really known for a rivalry yet. Here we are.
But yeah, it's amazing the interstate rivalry these two have. Every year it feels like they provide just a game of the year quality. And it always feels like a final for some reason, even if it's like the first couple of rounds of the year. It was performances across the board. The big man himself, though, Errol, performing as usual.
Errol.
37 disposals, 24 kicks, 13 handballs, 10 marks, 4 tackles. Brilliant performance by the Golden. But he wasn't the only one. There was plenty that joined the party. And I think one of the big things was Joel Amati kicking 4.
It's a party.
Yeah, 4 goals, 1, but only did it in the first half. So, a little bit more that needs to be added to his game, but definitely looking the goods. And the big one, Buddy Franklin. Going down with that calf injury, with the old man injury.
The baby cow disease.
Baby cow disease. He went down with that, and he pulled up real lame. It didn't look good. He didn't look happy on the bench. Looks like it could be a bit of time out for the Budster.
Well, you should not have been going to your friends and family saying, "I might play on one more year," and then you do that.
Then you do an
Not
old
gonna
man
happen, yeah.
injury.
Yeah.
This is
Not
what
gonna play
happens when
now.
you take out the bins.
I get that. Well played.
Well done.
Let's not forget as well, Tom Papley kicking a clutch goal to keep their season alive. Not to reduce the margin by 81 points. Keeping their season alive.
He doesn't
And
do that often. He loves a cheeky junk time goal.
Just calling out Paps for a junk timer. So the best way to put it for me was the Essendon forward line. Peter Wright and Kyle Langford kicking 9 between them. And then just not a lot of performers, a lot of ones after that. Whereas the Sydney had a bit more of a spread, with the Marty with 4, Wicks with 3, Papley with 2, and Heaney with 2. And then it went down into the 1. So a bit more of a, forward dominance from Sydney over Essendon. And that's probably one thing that is starting to hurt them a little bit, is just that, they don't find a way to generate enough score. Is probably the best way to put it.
100%, 37% efficiency inside 50, 20% difference between Sydney and Essendon, which was the main difference for Sydney getting over the line here. Even though it was a 2-point game, it felt like a lot more for the Swans. They should have won by. And Essendon won a few key stats that typically win your games, plus 22 inside 50s, plus 23 contested possessions, and also plus 13 clearances. Nick Bryan having a very good game in the ruck, someone that Jabs enjoys, wants to see him play more for Essendon. Andrew Phillips as well, gold star for him as well. But Essendon's midfield, I think it gels well when Hobbs and Caldwell work together, when there's someone like Shield or Stringer not in the side. So when it's just Parrish, Merritt, Hobbs, and Caldwell, it works. Too many times when it's like Stringer or Shield, one of Hobbs or Caldwell has to play outside mid, and it really impacts both their game. So
Too many cooks.
it's a midfield squeeze for Essendon, and they've got to figure it out in a month's time to keep their season alive. They've got the Eagles next week and North Melbourne. They lose one of those 2 games, you can put a line through them for top 8. But then also they got the Giants and the Pies to finish their season off. So it's it's a tricky draw, but it's also a draw that can keep their season alive. And Sydney as well, they got the Battle of the Bridge. They've got the Gold Coast Suns as well at home. That's a tricky game for them. They've got the Crows at Adelaide Oval and then the D's to finish off. So they got a tough month. They're in a percentage battle with the Cats and the Blues as well with that draw. So anything can happen with the Swans. Maso.
Another vortex inside the vortex.
Maso, what do you think of this game?
Yeah, what the fuck, Essendon? Pretty much.
No, you tipped them. That's
What the fuck?
Pretty much what every Essendon fan's probably thinking. What the F? Like, every game to get into the finals. This is for your season. And you're serving up that dog shit. Like, come on.
To be fair, you did say to them, you did say about them last week, it'd be a waste of them to get into the 8th. So, I mean, at least they went by what you said and just gave it a shot, but then still lost.
Well, they can lose after I'm not tipping them, all right? That's for the couple games later. With Ridders there, Ridley gone or out.
The Riddler.
It's fucked their back line. They've got nobody of that quality to replace him. They need those last few players for them to actually become something to reach that next level. Because I think, what is it? It's another key defender. What would be the other position you reckon that they need to fill out?
I reckon just a good second forward for Peter Wright. Because Langford can't kick 5 goals every game.
It'd be a great third tall Kyle Langford. So yeah, I do think that they need to make a few list changes, but it's just tweaking their list at this point.
It's not a major overhaul. No, it's just last little pieces. I don't know. Like, Sydney's just getting it done. Each week, I'm like, too many injuries to too many key position roles, and they just keep coming back.
I'm going to say one more thing about this game, though. Although the second Rampy went down in that third fourth or third, I can't remember which it was. That's when Essendon got on top. So that makes me really worry for the Swans that they rely so heavily on Rampy. And think about when he was out of the side earlier this year as well. That was when they were in that real, death patch, realistically. So, yeah, their heavy reliance on him, and I'm glad they're sort of starting to work out the buddy problem. So that Amadi's starting to have a party and release it every week. But yeah, McDonald's still got a long way to go in that sense. But yeah.
All right, Essendon, height down back being an issue for them, and the same issue as well for Port Adelaide. Their third loss in a row, showdown 54. The Crows getting up by 47 points. 2 showdown wins this season for Adelaide. They keep their season alive as well. For fuck's sake, I went into this fucking round thinking we're going to sort out positions from 5 to 14, but that's not the case. Chuck that out the fucking window. Tex Walker kicking 7 goals, the most goals in a show. Most goals in a showdown since Warren Treadray in 2004. So Port Adelaide, if it means anything, the last time a player kicked 7 goals in a showdown, you won a flag that year. So anything's possible for Port. 3 losses in a row. They won the inside 50s yet again, Port Adelaide. They just can't fucking execute. But the main talking point coming out of this game, and I'm not sure if we've got any updates from the AFL or any statement from any club or AFL integrity or whatever, was the HIA controversy around Alir. Not so much Lockie Jones. He was subbed out due to head. No, Alir kept on the ground after his injury to his head. But it was a sickening knock as well. Lockie Jones was out like a light straight away. John, you had a few to talk about in this.
I just think, it's especially because I'm someone who's all about protecting the head. I don't go the full David King and lose my absolute fucking mind over it. But I am someone who, especially, and I know this is going to sound weird, but us as wrestling fans understand this whole thing more than anybody. It's so random. We saw lawsuits affect something we love for a very long time, and I think we're starting to see that now. It's great that the lawsuits are taking place and everything like that, but I do think the AFL has gone. There's a pendulum right now, and the AFL is firmly they're in the good, like they're doing the right thing, and they are looking after the head and looking after players when it comes to concussion. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to see things slip through the cracks. And I genuinely think that considering we have an umpire marshal or something like that, we have capabilities for umpires to intervene in the game, or the AFL to intervene in the game in some way. I genuinely think he should have been told to go off by somebody in the AFL. Forget about Port, because have we all seen the incident? I should ask that first. Have we all seen the incident with Alir? Yeah. So it's one of those things where, one player goes off with the injury. Wouldn't you at least think, okay, yeah, we've got to put him through the concussion, at least through the concussion protocol, because it was a nasty looking hit. And we talk about protecting the head and everything like that. To me, sometimes we're at a point where, if the AFL needs to, intervene. Because that was a moment where I was like, somebody needs to intervene on this, because I feel like Port have done this before. I think Port have done this a few times this year, actually. They have not put a player through the protocols because they know it's going to take 20 minutes of that player off.
I think it has happened with Alir this year. Last year, I remember it was Zach Butters at the MCG. It was a Thursday night against Richmond. Happened in the final quarter. That's why they didn't do the 20-minute protocol with Butters at the time. And I remember at the time, I was like, what the hell's going on? And Ken Hinkley was asked about it after the game. And I think they were fined or it was looked into, but it seems like it happens quite a bit with Port Adelaide.
Yeah. It seems like Port like to flaunt this rule when it comes to concussion. And if there's one thing that I don't think we should be fucking around with, it's concussion. So for me, it's almost like a mini arrow here. Port, pull your fucking head in. You want to hurt players and you want to keep them out for, look at what we have a fucking player in the league who's going through shit. Look at Paddy McCartan. Seriously, it's one of those things where it's like, Port, pull your fucking head in big time.
Paul Seedsman, Marcus Adams as well. There's a few others as well we could list off on the long-term injury list for head knocks.
Just pisses me off that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the Aaliyah one. It actually, seeing it over and over again, it actually infuriated me that he played out that full game without anyone bothering to look into if he had a concussion.
I don't care if Tex Walker kicks 5 goals in that time. I'd rather see Aaliyah with a full focus or knowing full well that he's right to go instead of him playing the entire game thinking, right, I don't think he should have played at all. So that bothered me. Tex kicking 7 goals. He was going to kick a bag either way. He needed to. He's been criticised for having going quiet in big games. So for him to kick 7 goals, keep his team's season alive, and also seeing other players step up as well, or not just step up, but the same names as well. Dawson, 34 disposals. Laird, 13 tackles. Matt Crouch, 12 clearances. He's proven to be a real key in their midfield now. I don't know why Matthew Nicks hates him, but Matt Crouch doing his thing. Let's hope he stays on yet again for Adelaide. But anyway, I did have a few showdown memories. Now, I think we can talk about this rivalry a little bit more in depth. I only had 5 I want to bring up. I don't want to go through their entire history. I'm going to start in chronological order. Ramsgate Hotel, 02, 25 players involved between Adelaide and Port Adelaide. Apparently, the story is Kane Corns was hiding under a fucking pool table when the brawl. And that does check out. Apparently, the main instigators were Mark Rasciuto and Josh Carr, which 2 bulls going at it. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. 2005, the showdown semi-final. Not the result, but the infamous Byron Pickett bump on Rhett Biglands. Unfucking believable. 2013, the Angus Monfries bounce, and then Chad Wingard kicking that match-winning goal. It's in my 30 minutes of random AFL match-winning goals and moments. I'm not sure what timestamp it is, but it's there. 2015, I had to bring this up. It's a special one. 2015, the best showdown game, in my opinion, was in 2015, 2 weeks after the death of Phil Walsh. So a very good tribute to a great man as well, considering that Phil Walsh was a caretaker coach in 01, as well as an assistant coach at Port, and then obviously took over Adelaide in 2015 before his death, unfortunately. So very good game between 2 great sides at the time. And 2018, Stephen Motlop's goal. I think Adelaide had a 4 or 5 game win streak over Adelaide had a 4 or 5 game match win streak over Port at the time. That was the game where Ken was doing like this in the fucking coach's box. 1-0, whatever. And then Jordan Dawson after the siren last year. Just a great moment there. Sam Hayes dumb with that high tackle on, I think it was Murphy. But yeah, showdown memories. I don't think there's any ex-Freo players playing for Adelaide or Port. So what did you think of this game?
I got that. Did you sleep through this one?
Yes.
I knew it. I have one quick little shout out. We'll move on from this game, but I have one little shout out. Mark Keane.
What a boy. What a boy. Come back.
On Collingwood's list, for anyone who doesn't know, on Collingwood's list, back to Ireland, then decides to make the move back to Australia and ends up on Adelaide's list and had a 3rd quarter to remember. He was influential in that quarter. I think I was listening to it today. I think they said he took 5 intercepts or something like that in that quarter. Well done, Mark Keane. So, especially considering somebody, and he looks like a lock for the rest of the year. So, with a couple of injuries down back to Adelaide. So,
if you thought Hawthorn and Saints was going to be a snore fest, you missed out. This was a very good fucking game, surprisingly. Saints getting up by 29 points, a 9-goal first quarter. Under Ross Lyon, how the fuck did that happen? But then a 5-goal blitz in the final quarter. Hawks coming back, but Saints kicking away in that final quarter to edge out a 29-point win. They're in 5th spot on the ladder. I've got my criticisms of St Kilda. I think they're making the ladder light this time for the Hawks. These sort of games come at a premium if they want to get wins. I'll let you boys take over on this one.
I'd give that game about 2.5 Ross Lyons out of 5.
Every time.
They just went to him in the box too many times.
They did.
They went to him in the box so many fucking times.
I got one for
What's
Maso this week to just to wire you up a little bit. Did you hear about his whinging of the Marvel Stadium deck after last week?
Oh, I was having a big old laugh about that.
Just
He's
a quick bit of
weatherman
context. Yeah, bit of context. Apparently the roof was left open too long. The AFL came out and said it was not left open too long. So get fucked, North Melbourne and St Kilda.
I'll tell you what they should do for every game that St Kilda's at Marvel is leave the roof open, leave the roof open, and then the Hell in a Cell, like the lighting and the thing. When they close
Yes. Give him the button. Give him the button to close the fucking roof if he's so upset about it.
Can they also play under the red lighting?
So if the Mason Wood chant goes on, it's a no DQ or it's a DQ finish. That's what it should be. That's a fucking shit chant, and you know it's St.
What is it? Is it just Mason Wood?
Fuck off. Do not say that again. That's what it is.
Is that actually
That's what it is.
who the fuck is making chants for Mason Wood?
We're back on track here. All right.
Yeah.
Who the hell expected St. Kilda actually score more than 5 goals in a quarter?
Me.
In a
I did
quarter,
not.
though?
In a quarter.
They did it twice.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I would agree with Maso. I actually didn't expect them to score 5 in a quarter. I didn't think they had this capability in them. They just haven't had this capability in them for years.
If you watched in depth, it was a bit of a tactical masterpiece by Ross Lyon. Last time they played, Sicily had 43 disposals. He ran amok. They pretty much played a game where they put like 4 or 5 different forwards on Sicily as that defensive forward to nullify Sicily. Even though Sicily got on with 26
And he still had 26, yeah.
No. Like, it did nullify his presence. Or his
Oh,
leadership.
no, not saying that. It's just more like, it's still amazing. You make that move and he still manages to get 26. That's the sort of player Sis is.
Yeah, no, let's still laugh at Ross Lyon, though. But Saints, start of 2018, they've only kicked over 123 times. And surprisingly, it's always been against Hawthorn. So I don't know what it is about Hawthorn that ignites St Kilda's forward line, but yeah, they get the best out of St Kilda's attacks. So I don't know why.
I thought Hawthorn would have them all day easily, would own the clearances, but nah. But you know that masterclass of Homer Simpson-esque of, hey, that guy beat us last time. Let's chuck half the team on him. It worked off in the end.
That's kind of what it was.
It came off.
They put Filippo on him, Sharman on him.
Yeah.
Sharman tried to take a few hangers over him as well. I think Owens on him for a few minutes. Caminiti was on him for a few minutes. There was someone else as well. I think Gresham. He came on as a sub first quarter. I think he played him for a few minutes. So yeah, they tried to stop Sicily there. But Luke Bruce winding back the clock, kicking 6 goals. Mitch Lewis, getting back. He only kicked a couple of goals, but he was a bit of a presence in that second and third quarter.
It was on the top of that Wilkie battle. I'll give him that. I reckon he won that Wilkie battle, except for probably a bit he probably won 3 out of the 4 quarters against Wilkie. So he I mean, all the pieces are slowly falling into place. Like it's gonna come together nicely for Hawthorn. They've got a lot of players that are, aren't. You know how we sort of look at West Coast and North Melbourne's list and go, yep, throw him away. I don't really do this with this Hawthorn list. I'm actually kind of like, these players are just developing nicely. So it's a real credit to their recruiting and their trading that they've done the last few years. For me, this game was turned by one man, and it wasn't anybody on St Kilda's list who turned it for them. It was Sam Frost. Come of the moment, come of the champion. He loves turning momentum for teams in the other direction. They said it perfectly on commentary. If you want to be a leader of this football club, maybe step up and don't do stupid things like he does every single week. So, yeah, he's somebody who definitely needs to be put on notice because the Hawthorn rebuild is quite strong. He's one of their weak points massively.
Well, they're going to trade Denver Granger Barras to, I think, West Coast in the off-season. So Sam Frost lives to fight another day. If you're an aspiring AFL player, look at Sam Frost and think dreams do come true. All right. Saturday afternoon game at a venue that does not have a roof. Melbourne, Sunday afternoon, MCG, getting up by 32 points. A margin that doesn't do the game justice. This was a very good watch. I had it as 5 stars halfway through the final quarter. When Harrison Petty's kicking 6 goals, it's time to build a fucking statue.
Where the fuck does a performance like that come from? I was dumbfounded by some of the performances from Melbourne. They looked like they were down and out at various points in this game. It really did look like Richmond had all the momentum and had everything going for them. But no, surely enough, they fought back, kept chipping away at it, and got themselves well and truly on top, and then just ran away with it in the end. You're right. The scoreline does not flatter this game. If you look at the if you've seen the Supercoach points or anything like that, they do tell the story of the last quarter. It was a lot of evenly matched Melbourne players. All of a sudden went shot off, and it was the usual suspects except for Petty. So it was your Vineys, your Gorns, your Petrarcas, your Langdons. But yeah, Petty stood up to the plate today, took it to another level, and 6 goals. Van Rooyen 4, Melksham 4, big contributors from the Melbourne forward line. Dusty with 3 though, winding back the clock a little bit though.
Hey, fuck you.
I got to admit though, Mick Walter's move of pushing him back into the midfield has been quite a good move. Even though we all knew Dusty was capable of this shit, but it has been a very good move for Richmond. And to me, for mine, almost got him over the line. But yeah, unfortunately, that final quarter from the Demons where they just had absolute ice in their veins and were saying, absolutely fuck no, we're not keeping this one a close one. So for mine, it was just a Melbourne masterstroke in the last quarter. Their forward line got on top. And they're like in a week where the rest of the top 4 had a slip up, Melbourne pushed on and now keep their top 2 hopes alive. It's pretty much anyone's race up for that second spot at this point between Port, Brisbane, and Melbourne. They can work it out as Collingwood look down from above and go, "Come on, boys, just sort your shit out. Let me work out who I'm playing in the first round of finals, please."
One weird thought I had is I want to live a life that Mark Choco Williams is living right now, where he just sits on the bench and does nothing.
Oh, Choco.
Like he's earned his props. He's 65 years old. He's just sitting on the bench for Melbourne, just looking on. Just doesn't really faze him at this stage. I think you were talking about Andrew McQualter. Do you think he'll coach Richmond next year, or do you think it's going to go to like a Josh Carr or someone else that's in the wings somewhere else?
I have him as, and it's a bit of caretaker beware based on the previous 3 caretaker coaches and how they ended up. But he's put I think he had enough games to sort of put a resume together. Best example I can think of is Collingwood with Robert Harvey. You know, if you want to step into a list and then take charge of it, this is the way to do it. Like, you got to make impressions early. Sure, the caretakers, I think, all had a chance to make an impression roughly around the same time, maybe. But at the end of the day, I think he's put his best foot forward. He's shown what his game style is, how his game style is different to Dimmer's. And he's actually got a lot more, I think, out of some of the lesser players than Dimmer was getting this year. But I do think no matter what, you're going to have to make him go 1v. It's basically going to have to be a 1v1 versus the best assistant. Go through the due process. But for mine, I reckon he's probably going to come out on top of this one.
Ooh. If Richmond make finals, definitely. If 9th or 10th, then it's going to be a real 50-50. Anything below 10. It's going to really matter on ladder positions, I reckon. 9th or 10th will be 50-50. 11th or below, then it might have to give it to someone else. But I think the main front runner is Josh Carr. Justin Lepage has pulled out. I think there was a few others as well in the wings, but we're gone past the days of Robert Harvey, Scott Burns, Jamie Graham, all being perennial assistant coaches ready to step up, and then it just doesn't happen. So I don't know, Stephen King, Ken Hinkley.
There's a few names out there.
Does Damien Hardwick want to come back and just put this all to bed? I don't know. Does Justin Longmuir want to move to Victoria for a fresh start? Or
Wow.
Wow. Speaking of wow, This game on Sunday afternoon has made me go, wow.
Do you believe in miracles?
Obviously.
The miracle
West
at
Coast, dude.
The miracle at Optus Stadium. Eagles by 5 points. Was it 16 games in a row? It's over. They've got the second of the season. It's now officially on. The Harley Reid Cup is going to be between West Coast and North Melbourne still. I know if North got up, it was guaranteed West Coast dead last. But even though percentage is going to be a major factor, or not going to be a major factor, it's still possible North can win the spoon.
It's a battle of percentage at this point. It's who gets flogged by less at this point. For mine, I think if you've got a percentage of 50.6, you're probably winning the spoon. At least North is 67.6. So I think it's going to take a monster effort for West Coast not to win the spoon. Like this win needed to be by like 20, 30 points for it to make it real interesting for mine. But what a game. The Harley, I reckon you've dubbed it pretty well. The Harley Reid Cup.
I found one negative for West Coast. Now they're off the hook. They're not getting arrowed this week. The news this week is apparently it's signed, sealed, and delivered. Tom Barras will be requesting a trade, I think, to Sydney. It's also confirmed that he's out for the rest of the season. But
if Barras is going, that's interesting. I want to see what they get. That means they're going to do a full clear out.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what they get for draft picks as well. I think they're eyeing off the three. They're eyeing off the they're eyeing off the 3 first-round draft picks for the West Coast or the WA boys. They want to cover those. I don't think, unless they want Harley Reid and those 3 boys, that's what they're aiming for. But yeah, I think they're gonna test the waters this trade period. They're gonna try and see what they can get. May involve Melbourne as well. We'll wait and see, but we'll discuss that, I think, more in the off-season for West Coast players. We don't know as well. I mean, players who haven't been discussed could be put on the table. That's what West Coast's list.
Petrol jelly.
Yeah, petrol jelly could be heading back to Victoria.
Every time he says petrol jelly, it gets me.
But fucking North Melbourne, 17 losses in a row. It's now their worst losing streaks since 1971, 1972. And if they lose 2 more games in a row after that, so 19 or 20, it's going to be their worst losing streak since the 30s or the 20s. So this team's fucked. Absolutely fucked.
Well, my question to you is, we put this on the agenda for weeks, like that West Coast, they feel like they've got another win in them. They feel like they've got another win in them. Do North feel like they have another win in them?
No.
No. Not for mine. Doesn't matter who it's against. I don't care who it's against.
This was it for me.
The D's, the Bombers, the Tigers, the Suns. Can they get a win out of those 4?
No,
definitely
this was
the
it
D's.
for me. Yeah.
Is the Suns at home?
Yeah, in Tasmania though.
Half a shot because it's cold.
Yeah, true. And the Suns are playing for a final spot probably around that time, so
half a shot because it's cold. That's the only thing I'll say for that one.
Now my question is, if North are 2-20 by that time and the Eagles get another win, will they fuck up their own tank and win the final round?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
I
hope we lose on purpose just so they.
Watch this space.
If we field like all of our youngsters and just go in for a slaughter, and then they don't get Harley Reid, will be the absolute memeiest of memes ever to meme. So,
and just to bring it back around to North Melbourne and West Coast, it's been heating up this week. Priority pick or not?
No, they don't deserve that shit.
Is this a good segue or what?
They do not deserve that shit. Like, there's been so many teams that have just been stuck in the gutter for that long, and yeah, North does not deserve it. It's not my fault you draft a whole bunch of players that don't give a shit.
Can we get into the segment?
Yeah, get into the segments.
Oh. What great timing. We're talking about priority picks. And my arrow's going to North Melbourne, or the idea they want a priority pick. I'm going to arrow their 2020 list changes. So let's start off with their off-season listings. Now, they started off...
Sorry, I hit my elbow.
I think North and Melbourne's hit their funny bones.
Don't worry, I'll edit around it.
All right, so they delist May Jack Daw, who ended up going to Melbourne as key forward depth. They delisted Sam Durden, who's now been picked up by Carlton, and they didn't offer Mason Wood a new contract, who's now at St Kilda. They had to pick up Aiden Core in free agency. Well, they didn't have to, but they got Aiden Core in free agency. What has he done? Almost next to nothing. They traded Ben Brown for a second-round draft pick. They traded Sean Higgins to Geelong for a second-round draft pick. And what they do, they got Jaden Stevenson from Collingwood for a second-round draft pick. And they used that another second-round draft pick to draft Charlie Lazaro. So not exactly a like-for-like replacement there. Ben Brown out for fucking Charlie Lazaro. But let's get into the
big plus.
Now let's get into the fucking 2020 draft. Ugelhagen taking pick 1. Riley Thilthorpe taking pick 2. This was a draft for key position players. North Melbourne's turn. Oh, we'll just pick Will Phillips over Logan McDonald. Now, Will Phillips is a good player in the midfield, but over Logan McDonald, and given what I saw against West Coast, that Nick Lark is the sole forward, I'm pretty sure they would prefer Logan McDonald over Will Phillips right now. They got Tom Powell for pick 13. He's all right. I don't mind him.
Yeah, I like Tom Powell.
They did, at the time in 2019, trade their future second-round draft pick to Hawthorn. Hawthorn used that pick for Seamus Mitchell, who's being pretty damn good off the halfback flank for Hawthorn right now. So that's another missed player for North Melbourne. But I found something, or Charlie Lazaro, pick 36, that second-round pick. But I found something in the early third round, which I know other teams could be criticised for this one, but North Melbourne can be singled out for this one. 2 small forwards or 2 high-pressure forwards from South Australia. Pick 42, they pick Phoenix Spicer. Pick 44, Collingwood picks Bo McCreary. So that's another missed opportunity there as well. And they also pick up Eddie Ford to pick 56. So he's all right. Don't mind him.
I like Eddie Ford.
Rookie draft, they used 2 picks on Patrick Walker and Connor Menadue. Connor Menadue playing for Werribee. He used to play for Richmond. Few players in that rookie draft they could have picked. Jack Ginnivan, Josh Tracy, Jacob Townsend, Lockie McNeil, Luke Parks. And at the time, Bailey Banfield was delisted. So North Melbourne will ask for a priority pick, given their results, and they're entitled to it, given their results. But there needs to be accountability and responsibility for their list management decisions. It goes back to 2016, not offering new contracts to Boomer Harvey, Nick Del Santo, Spud Ferrito, and Drew Petrie. 2020, they pretty much cut a quarter of their list. Depth players who they've not replaced for the last 3 years. And just these fucking efforts I've seen from North Melbourne this season. It's reminiscent of Melbourne with their tank job in the late 2000s, early 2010s at this point. And hindsight as well, they've picked the wrong players so far. North Melbourne, results-wise, yes, they'll want the priority pick, but I think they need an end of first-round draft pick or early second-round draft pick to trade, to bring players in, and maybe access to Riley Sanders. They can't have it all. They're going to likely lose Ben Mackay for fucking a first-round draft pick. I don't know how he's worth that, but they're going to be stockpiling. They're going to be stockpiling first-round draft picks at this point. They don't need a priority pick, and they also need to be criticised again for their list management decisions for the past decade. North Melbourne, their recruiting team development, whatever, the whole lot. It's been narrowed.
My one little thing that I just wanted to add on top of that was I've been through the shitty rebuild. I've been through the 2-win season, everything. I can tell you now, our 2-win season's looking a shitload better than their 2-win season. And at least our 2-win season didn't go for what feels like fucking ever. They've fucked the rebuild, and yeah, it's just fucked. My boy this week, I'm going back to my club. There's 2 boys. I'm not going to get both of them in. I just pick between 2 of them. they're both perfect boys. But I decided to go with the boy traded from Geelong, Lockie Fogarty. Lockie Fogarty this year has come in and has 6 wins to his name since he's come in. Basically, the 6-game win streak we're on right now. So, is it off the back of him? No. Has he played a big part in the forward line structure changing? Yes. He's been absolutely phenomenal to watch for my club. I'll get into it. 2017 was taken in the pick number 22 in the 2017 National Draft. Debuted round 1 in 2018 against Melbourne at the MCG. Played 23 games for Geelong for 6 goals. moved over to Carlton in the 2020 end of the 2020 season via the draft period. Has played 20 games for Carlton, still on the list. 6 goals. Looks like he's probably going to earn himself a little bit of a cheeky extension as well, based on his current form. So, Lockie Fogarty, welcome to the Boys Club.
Good pick. Great player.
Underrated player.
You remember this, pal? You're a boy in a man's world.
Hello. How are we doing?
How about that right in?
Yeah, so this one is a bit of a funny unit. Don't know if the boys are going to agree with me with this pick or not. But this fella was born June 2nd, 1992.
I love the
data. He played for Gold Coast and Carlton. He was drafted from the Norwood Football Club. And he made his debut for Gold Coast in 2011 and played 22 games in his 5 seasons with the Suns before being delisted and subsequently signed by Carlton, where he played 4 games for the club. Daniel now has 2 podcasts as well as amassing over 8 million followers on TikTok. It's the man himself, Daniel Gorridge.
Goz! What a week to do this to Maso, to Nathan.
Just for context, I have unblocked Carlton on Instagram, but I have blocked Dan Gorringe, so that's a good little trade. I don't want to include him, but I mean he meets the criteria.
Mate, he is a perfect boy.
I mean, he had to go in at some point. Dill Buckley's going to be going in at some point, so yeah. Well played, mate. So I don't want to golf clap him, but well, I mean, I'm wearing the fucking Carlton jumper, so I may as well fucking stand up again and clap him.
Goz!
I don't even know the Biffo. I literally picked him because I saw like a few TikToks or Instagram videos.
So,
like,
for context, he fucking went off after the Carlton win. And I'm sure Nathan didn't appreciate that, especially on Friday night.
I don't think it wouldn't have just been Collingwood. If it was any other side, I was going to block him. He's just become insufferable. I'm a better football player than him.
I'll just leave that there for the rest of the podcast.
All right, good induction.
Cash time!
Ouch!
I'm going to be honest. I watched Blood and Guts while I was away. I have not caught up with any wrestling in the past week, so someone please fill me in for once.
Takeshita is missing. Takeshita was missing this week. But was he on? Okay, was he on Rampage?
No.
Was he on Dynamite?
No Dynamite.
He's missing. He's MIA, but I believe he's going to tag with Chris Jericho coming up. So Don probably more took the reins this week for Takeshita. And yeah, it looks like because he's trying to pull Jericho in, he's going to tag team with Chris Jericho. I believe it's next week on Dynamite against Sammy and Daniel Garcia. So absolutely nothing this week when it comes to Takeshita watch because he has just been MIA after Blood and Guts.
Yeah, he just walked away. I haven't seen him since.
That is Takeshita watch because there is none this week.
I will say I do want to see him in mixed tag team action with Rio. Just to see what Maso's reaction is.
You say the name Riho and Mason just like cringes immediately. No context on that one. Just leave it where it is. Leave it out there for the world to work out. Well, I'm going to quickly... I think last week I did enjoy one thing that we randomly did, which was just going into next week's fixture. So, round 21, we're heading into... Does my thing want to fucking load? There we go. Going into... So, Friday night, we got Dogs versus Richmond in an absolute crucial clash for both clubs. Saturday, we've got Eagles versus Essendon, Crows versus Suns, Hawks versus Pies, Another massive clash between Cats versus Port down at GUMBA Stadium, where, like we said, Cats have to use their 9 lives and get themselves into the 8 with that one. Giants with another huge clash with Sydney in the Battle of the Bridge. Sunday, we've got North Melbourne versus Melbourne. We got St Kilda versus Carlton, and we've got Freo versus Lions. I'm going to be struggling to get back on time next week. All right, we'll leave it there for this week, and then we'll just waffle on after the podcast with each other. So we are the AWO Journeymen. Follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all the good shit. And please drink more water.
Drink that water.